Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our class, Programming Fundamental. In today's topic, we are going to discuss about C language. The importance of C language comes from that human need to interact with machine, but the machine language is just 0 and 1. A computer, a machine doesn't understand the human language. What it understands is just 0 and 1, or let me say switch on and switch off. Like you have a light and then you need to switch on, switch off. That is how computer understand. Like electricity on, electricity off. That is the only way to communicate with computer. And that's why there is a need to make it more easier for us, human, to communicate with a computer. And that is why we need a programming language. So it will be like the intermediate person between human and a computer. At first, developers were communicating with computer by zeros and one, and later on they were an invention of a new language, which is the assembly language, and it used somehow human readable sentences. As you can see, for example, the assembly language have MOV, which stand for move folder or move file, and there is also add. Add is the addition. However, it wasn't totally high-level language which a human can understand. So in 1950s, 1960s, there were an invention of new languages such as Fortran and Algol. And the important thing about these languages is that you write it once and then you can run on different machine. But for assembly language, it wasn't. And with the Fortran and Algol, there were the introduction of a compiler which compile or translate what a programmer writes into zeros and ones, I mean binary, so the computer will understand. Later on, C language were presented, and that was in the beginning or the early of 1970s. C language is one of the top programming languages in the world, and that is in terms of the available courses that teaching C, as well as the number of skilled engineers who are using C language. With more investigation, we can see that C language was either the first or the second top language since almost 20 years. So since 2000 until 2021, it was always be the language number 1 in popularity or minimum number 2. So yeah, it is well known, it is popular, famous, and lots of engineers using it. I mean, specialists in computer using it. So what are the use of C language? It is used for embedded systems, which has a single chip microcontroller, and it has one specific purpose. So for example, GPS. And of course, that include also robotics, Internet of Things devices, toys, as well as routers, and much more devices. So this is just an examples of embedded system that C language will be used to program these devices. In general, C language is a general purpose programming language, which means it can be used to develop an operating system, Android application, Internet of Things applications, and much more. So you can use it to develop whatever type of application that you are intended to do. At the beginning of C language, it were used to re-implement the Unix operating system. Yeah, this language have been used to build an operating system. C language is a high-level assembly language, so it is a human readable language and provide low-level access to the memory. It is also it's also a very portable language. So what does that mean? When a programmer considers that the application that he is developing may work on different devices or on different platforms, he can write a code that run on different devices, or it need a little of change to run on separate, different devices. It is easy to understand compilation. It produces an efficient code which run fast, and it's fairly concise. As I said earlier, it has been developed in 1970s, 1972, 73, with the Unix operating system, and the one who developed it is Dennis Ritchie. So these languages were designed to program operating systems, utilities programs, compilers, and filters. And it is called C because it's a successor, Khalifa, for B language. So there were B and now C. Some features of C are: it is a low-level memory access. It has a simple set of keywords. Basically, it has only 32 keywords, and it has a clean style. Advantages of C programming: it is a robust language, as it has a built-in functions as well as operators. C language also is a foundation of another programming languages such as C++, Java, PHP, and other languages. However, nothing that we create is perfect, so it has its advantages also, such as it doesn't have an object-oriented programming paradigm, as well as there is no runtime checking in C language. C language doesn't have namespace and also doesn't provide a constructor and destructor concept. So how we can start writing our code? Simply with a computer device, of course, I mean a mobile phone, smartphone, or a laptop or desktop. Aside of that, we need to use a code editor. So yes, you need to install a code editor, and there are a variety of code editors that you may use to write your C language code. You may use Notepad++, Sublime, VS Code, brackets, and my suggestion to you guys is to install VS Code and start to use it to write your code. That's all for today's class. Thanks.